So for those of you who just can't stop yourself getting your winter tennis fix, where you don't necessarily have access to indoor courts and so you're going to be outside, how do you survive winter when it gets cold in a country like the UK? Which is to say, I'm not going to give tips for playing tennis in Antarctica. Now, before we start, probably worth is putting a bit of a disclaimer. If you do have any medical conditions or concerns, please do consult a medical professional or a doctor before playing outside in the freezing cold, because winter conditions can place extra stress on your body. So do make sure you're safe to play. So I come from the south of England, where we're not particularly known for really harsh winters. We don't get 10 feet of snow. However, winter can still be really quite harsh and brutal. Freezing hands, slippery courts, flat balls. It is a whole different sport. But what I'm going to do today is, I'm not going to promise you a magic bullet to suddenly make the outdoors and cold really, really comfortable. But I'm going to share some of the practical tips that I've built up through at least a couple of winters now of being outside extensively, particularly playing and coaching the kids, to help us get through the most brutal parts of the winter cold. So the first thing is, try and warm up properly. You should be doing that anyway, but let's face it, the last thing you want to do is walk onto a court when it's 2 degrees or less, when you haven't moved a muscle and you are cold before you even begin. If you can warm up a bit, get the blood moving before you even leave the house or maybe inside the club, running on the spot can work. If you do have to do it on the court, get on there quick, do your side steps, your crossovers going across, run backwards and forwards, get the blood moving. The quicker you can get warm, the quicker you will stay warm. Besides which, just like playing any time of year, if you don't get your muscles warm, cold muscles will not only make you feel cold, but they're also prone to injuries, none more so in winter. The second thing, of course, is to dress smart, which, at least in the UK here, probably in lots of countries, means wear lots of layers. Why? Why not wear just one big thick coat? Well, simple thing is, as you get moving, you do actually get really hot if you actually really move when you play tennis, and you're going to want to start taking those layers off, but kind of one by one. So for me, depending when it gets into really the middle of winter, I probably never wear thermals. Some people do. I'll have a t-shirt on. I might have a hoodie or even 2 sometimes. I wear a gilet, which this one is a synthetic down, keeps my core really nice and warm, on top of which I've got kind of a fur-lined fleece jacket that I wear. In addition to which, I wear a snood, really helps keep your neck and you can kind of put it up over your ears. And then I like to wear the good old bobble hat. But I must stress, if you are moving, and that's kind of another tip, is move. You cannot stand still outside playing tennis in the winter. You've got to be moving around. You get amazingly hot, particularly if you've got that bobble hat on. A lot of heat really does seem to go out through your head. Trapping it in a bobble hat, you're going to get really, really hot. And then the other thing to note is, do not do like you do in the summer, where you probably wear your tennis shoes down until you can poke your big toe through them because you worn them down so much. You can't do that in winter. You need to have good tread, because those courts, once they get maybe not icy, I mean that's just dangerous, but when they get a bit of dew on them, get wet, they never seem to dry for months on ends. They are going to become slippery. You've got to have treads on your trainers, so do not go out with your slicks on. But then I think there's also some good old common sense around. We probably all know which parts of our body we need to keep warm. I mean, your core, so your torso, if you can keep that warm there, actually that goes a really long way. Your head, you do lose a lot of heat out of there. Seems like your arms and your legs. I mean, I wear a pair of, again, sort of lined tracksuit bottoms, but I will get down to shorts even in the middle of winter by the time I'm running around, and my arms, I don't seem to care so much. When it comes to your hands, I have tried different gloves. So I've tried wearing thick gloves. I've tried wearing a ski glove just on my non-dominant hand. I've got a pair of kind of grippy gloves that I think are made for rugby. Quite simply, gloves are useless. Either they're too thick so you can't feel the grip, or the thin ones that do have grips on them that you can grip the racket, they're really too thin to do anything. So honestly, I don't even bother with gloves. It does hurt. The worst thing I hate is when you're doing the winder on the net and you slip and everything seems to hurt really bad when it's cold. Again though, if you get moving within 5 minutes, your hands will feel like mini radiators. One thing I will say though for the hands is, with actually just this winter, we bought kind of this USB powered pouch thing, I think, that's used for fishing. It's powered by a USB power bank. You put your hands in. We've tested it down at about 1 degree C, and it keeps your hands relatively warm. It doesn't bake your hands. It'll only go up to about 12 degrees C, but that is enough that it takes the edge off without kind of getting that soreness when you heat your hands too quickly. That's really working. When it comes to your feet, I find that thick socks are probably the worst thing you can do. Somehow they seem to trap the cold. So I just wear regular socks, and the only thing I can say is do not stand still because your feet get cold. We all know this, right? Keep moving and don't stop. Which really does come in, which for me, this is all of those things. Wear the right clothes, warm up. The most simple strategy is move. If you're the sort of player playing doubles who likes to stand at the net and just kind of watch the ball going backwards and forwards, I'm afraid to say you are going to freeze. Gotta move around, and you can't stop moving. We find that we do sort of way less baskets of serves during the winter, especially during the evenings, just simply because your feet get cold. So move, move, move. Otherwise, some other simple things you can do. If you're drinking water, then get yourself a little thermos flask and take some hot water, take some fruit tea, just something to keep you warm. You still got to remember to hydrate, even though you don't sweat. Although saying that, actually, sometimes in court, I can sweat like crazy because I'm moving so much, and you get that kind of steam coming off you. The other is we bought my daughter, we've got these kind of big sort of food thermos flasks where we heat up some soup, put them in there, stays hot for 6 hours. That can be a really nice thing as well. The other thing I will say in terms of sort of tips and tricks is make sure that if you get really, really hot and then suddenly you stop, you will get cold so quickly. Again, we've all experienced this. If we get warm, go outside, you get cold really, really fast. So start putting the layers back on. I like to tell the kids, put your gilet on, keep the core warm, put your hat on, stop that heat escaping so fast. And then really, if you think about your gear, so you're not going to change your racket, your balls and your strings. So number one, let's talk about tennis balls. So we probably may have all experienced, it gets down sort of below 5 degrees, 4 degrees and lower. You open a nice new can of balls, you tip them out, and it seems like they've gone flat instantly. Well, as far as I understand, that's the law of physics. The gas particles in the pressurized air in between them, the molecules start moving less quickly, the pressure goes down, those balls seem flat, but as well the felt and the rubber apparently get stiff and it absorbs a lot of energy. So it literally will go donk, and sometimes they feel like they don't even bounce even though they're brand new. So what I've found is we use pressureless balls. The ones I like are the Wilson Trinities. They are a bit faster and a bit heavier, but between that and having something completely flat, yeah, we go for the Wilson Trinities, and then you can use them again and again. In terms of your strings, depending on what balls you use, depending on just how cold and heavy the air is, you're probably going to reduce your tension down a bit because you want a little bit more power. That said, with those Wilson Trinities, they are fast, and actually sometimes I play just normal tension, but you might need to adjust your tension down a bit. So final advice, ultimately, you're going to be cold. There's just, no matter what you do here, you are going to get cold. So if you really, really can't stand it, well, if there's some indoor courts near to you, you just might need to pay up. Although we've got 4 near to us and they're practically always booked. So it's not even really an option, particularly when you get into January. So all I can say is if you layer up, if you warm up, if you keep moving, if you take some hot drinks on and try and look after your hands, that sort of USB powered heater thing's working really well, then you know what? Winter tennis can be really fun, particularly here in the UK. During the daytime, we get fantastic sun and it can be absolutely glorious. As ever, put your thoughts in the comments. Is it just not for you? Are you the person that gets cold when it's about 12 degrees C? Or is it that you struggle to find someone else and get to go out and play tennis with you in the winter? Or are you that tough nut who's probably moved from Antarctica down to the UK and you're out there in shorts and t-shirts saying, I don't know what you're worrying about? Put your thoughts in the comments.